Imagine walking through a crowded room carrying a glass of water filled to the absolute brim. Every slight bump from a passing shoulder, every sudden vibration in the floorboards, every gust of wind threatens to spill it. You are hyper-vigilant, defensive, and perpetually tense. This is how most of us move through the world, psychologically. A co-worker sends a blunt, 2-sentence email. A friend leaves a message on read for a few hours. A stranger on the street gives a passing, unreadable glance. Instantly the water shakes. We take these isolated, meaningless fragments of reality and drag them into the echo chamber of our own skulls, processing them as direct indictments of our character. The exhaustion of modern life is rarely physical. It is the invisible crushing weight of constant emotional translation. It is the anxiety of converting the world's natural indifference into a personalized verdict against you. We spend our days exhausted in a mental courtroom where we serve simultaneously as the defendant, the prosecuting attorney, and the presiding judge. But what if you suddenly realized that no one called you to the stand? What if the trial you are fighting so desperately to win is entirely a hallucination? We operate under a subtle, deeply ingrained delusion, the absolute belief that the universe is paying attention to us. Modern psychology often refers to this as the spotlight effect, but the ancient Stoics recognized it as a fundamental error of perspective, a corruption of the mind's operating system. When we take something personally, we are making a subconscious demand. We are demanding that another human being's internal chaos be exclusively about us. But think about your own mind. It is a swirling storm of insecurities, forgotten obligations, physical discomforts, and fleeting desires. Other people are experiencing the exact same storm. Their anger, their sudden withdrawal, their sharp tongue, it is almost entirely a projection of their own internal weather. The Stoic concept of the dichotomy of control, separating what is ours from what is not just an ancient maxim for resilience. It is a necessary psychological boundary. It is the wall between your inner citadel and the turbulence of the mob. To stop taking things personally is not to become cold or unfeeling. It is to recognize the boundaries of your own reality and to stop volunteering to suffer for a script you didn't write. It sounds entirely contradictory, but to be easily offended is to be fiercely, quietly egocentric. When someone speaks to you harshly or fails to give you the recognition you believe you deserve, your ego immediately assumes you are the catalyst. You ignore the infinite unseen variables shaping their existence. A failing marriage, a quiet financial panic, a sleepless night, a deep-seated childhood trauma, and you forcefully insert yourself as the main character in their drama. By taking their actions personally, you are volunteering to carry luggage that does not belong to you. You inflate your own importance to explain their behavior. The Stoic perspective requires the humility to accept your own insignificance in the minds of others. You are not the center of their labyrinth. You are merely a shadow passing through it. When you accept this, their insults lose their gravity. Why does a passing, careless comment sting for days? Why does a lack of validation feel like a physical wound? Because somewhere along the way, you outsourced your identity. We treat our self-worth as a fluctuating currency, traded on the open, volatile market of public opinion. If you require the praise of others to feel whole, you inevitably hand them the power to destroy you with a single, thoughtless critique. You have handed the keys to your emotional kingdom to strangers, acquaintances, and critics. Stoic detachment is a total withdrawal from this market. It is the quiet acceptance that your internal ledger is yours alone to balance. This is not a comfortable transition. It means you must accept that people will profoundly misunderstand you. They will judge you unfairly based on incomplete evidence. You will lose the approval of people you once sought to impress. Social friction is inevitable. The Stoic does not try to avoid this friction. They learn to sit quietly with the loss of external approval, knowing that their core remains untouched by the shifting opinions of the crowd. Consider the physical reality of what happens when someone insults you or dismisses you. A person pushes air from their lungs, vibrating their vocal cords, sending invisible sound waves across a room to strike your eardrum. Or they press their thumbs against a piece of glass to send pixels to your screen. That is the absolute limit of their power. That is the physical reality. Everything else, the flushed cheeks, the racing heart, the burning shame, the desperate desire to retaliate, is a narrative constructed entirely by your own mind. You take the raw data of sound or light, inject it with your deepest insecurities, and weaponize it against yourself. You are fighting shadows in the theater of your own imagination. The quiet power of a developed mind lies in the ability to create a gap between the external stimulus and the internal narrative. In that silent gap, you realize that an insult is just a noise in the air. A judgment is just a fleeting electrical impulse in a brain that will eventually turn to dust. Why allow a ghost to dictate the rhythm of your heart? We spend years building a persona, a mask we wear for the world. We want to be seen as intelligent, competent, stoic, or kind. When we take things personally, it is because someone has tapped their finger against the mask and noticed it is hollow. The pain of an insult is merely the friction between who you actually are and who you are pretending to be. If someone calls you a fool and you know you are a fool, there is no pain. If someone calls you a fool and you are entirely secure in your wisdom, there is no pain. The sting only occurs when you harbor a secret doubt about yourself, and the other person has dared to voice it aloud. Stop defending the mask. The energy required to maintain the illusion is draining your life force. Let them criticize the persona. It is not you anyway. We spend our entire lives fortifying our egos. We build psychological walls to protect our image, standing on the watchtower, constantly scanning the horizon for arrows of disrespect, ready to launch a counterattack at the slightest provocation. But the ultimate quiet freedom of the human mind is not found in building a thicker wall or a stronger fortress. It is found in stepping completely outside the fortress, looking back at it, and realizing there was never anything inside worth defending. Let them hold their misconceptions. Let them whisper in the corridors. Let their judgments pass through you like cold wind through the bare branches of a dead tree. You do not need to correct their vision. You do not need to win the argument. You do not need to prove your worth to a crowd of people who are entirely consumed by their own illusions. What happens to your mind when you finally drop the heavy, exhausting burden of your own importance? Who are you in the silence of an empty room when the world's opinion ceases to matter?